I'd like to call our next guest for our first fireside chat, Redefining Masculinity in Cinema and Beyond. Mr. Rahul Bose is a renowned actor, activist, and philanthropist. Described as the Indian art house icon by Time magazine, Rahul Bose won the Best Actor award at the Singapore Film Festival for Split Wide Open and the runner-up prize for Best Debut Director for Everybody Says I'm Fine at the Palm Springs Film Festival. In 2022, he was awarded the Filmfare Award for Best Supporting Actor for his double role in the Netflix film Bulbul. Elected as the president of the Rugby Indian Federation in 2021, in an honor few ever receive, leave alone in their lifetime, the KIIT Rugby Stadium in Bhubaneswar was renamed the Rahul Bose Rugby Stadium. Rahul runs two NGOs, the Foundation, dedicated to the equalization of development by educating children from India's most undeserved areas, and HEAL, dedicated to the prevention of child sexual abuse. Some of Mr. Bose's awards include Indian Youth Icon of the Year, Social Justice, the Green Globe Award for Climate Change, NDTV Celebrity Sports Activist of the Year, the Lieutenant Governor's Commendation Award for Services to the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, the Hakeem Khan Soor Award for National Integration, GQ's Philanthropist of the Year, and GQ's Man of the Year, Social Change. A former international rugby player, he has represented India for 11 years, playing 17 internationals from 1998 to 2009. A prolific speaker, he has lectured on leadership, gender justice, sport, social activism, and cinema at the World Bank, Harvard, Yale, MIT, Oxford, and Cambridge universities, amongst others. I'm absolutely delighted to please call Mr. Rahul Bose to the stage, and if I can have Ms. Sara Abdullah Pilot join us on stage to be in conversation with him.
We wanted to have this conversation with Rahul. Of course, Nida has introduced Rahul in as short as she can. As I said before, it's very difficult actually to give any kind of an introduction to Rahul because I'm always very nervous that I must have forgotten something or missed out something because there's so much that he does and actually does everything so well. So we were very keen to have a very in-depth conversation with Rahul because he has been in various fields and they actually cross-cut. I'm kind of misquoting, I think, but I remember a while ago reading that Rahul had said something like, the only constant in my life is rugby, it's not any woman. Is that right? Is that what you said? So I feel like for CEQUIN, Rahul is a constant in our life. And thank you so much again, Rahul, for being that constant. We wanted to kind of talk to you and unpack this whole idea when we're talking about masculinities in Bollywood. I mean, you're like the perfect person here to sit and shine some light, give us some of the inner secrets to how you've seen things evolve when we're talking about stereotypes. From when you started to now, are you seeing a shift in the stereotypes? Is it that before there was this, very macho male that had to be there, but are we seeing the opposite kind of stereotype now where, you're not a decent male actor or the part isn't worth playing if you're not shedding those tears, if you're not, and if the woman is not very aggressive and very loud and very strong, are we going in a different direction altogether? How do you see things have changed?
First of all, I just want to say a hi to a few people here. Amit, it's wonderful seeing you here. You're one of the richest, deepest people I know, and your first instinct is always non-violent. It's always full of peace, full of love and understanding. And for that, I thank you for being in this universe. Dr. Amit Sen. Rohini, I think it's pretty easy to see how people are attracted and magnetized by your charisma, but I think what is for me much more powerful is your love, your compassion and your love, which fuels everything else through intelligence, through the work you do, through the resources you have. So some people in life you look at in society, in the world, and say, okay, there's hope, and you're definitely one of them. And to everybody at CEQUIN, you've come a long way. I'm sure that half of Laura and Sara want to kill me, and half of them might say, okay, we won't kill him. But, I just call it as I see it, but I always call it as I see it once I'm clear about the intent. If that is your intent, then this is not the way to go about it. This is a more efficient, more happiness-making, more meaningful way to do it. And that's where I come from, so it's never personal. It's always looking at what you want from it and saying, I think there's a better way. And then you can take it or leave it. So that's where I came from.
Thank you.
So
we always appreciate it.
So Sara, your question was, I just want to flag off something that both Rohini and Shombi said, which I think that they didn't speak about. I fully accept the fact that today it appears that all the work is being done on women and that men seem to be ignored, their vulnerabilities, the pincer movement of not getting employment and being pushed to being the breadwinner. I understand all of that. But what I am seeing, and it's definitely a very valid fear that I have, is that in the guise of saying, now is the time to focus on men, which I have been talking about for 7 years, men as victims of, as secondary victims of violence against women. I'll make that point very clear in 2 minutes. Sorry, Sara. But in the guise of, it's now our time, can you please talk about us? We need to speak, we need to express. The overwhelming majority of men who don't believe that, who are very much perpetrators of violence against women, will use that and say, dekho, hamara kya ho raha hai? It's not fair. Men also get beaten in marriage. Men also get raped in marriage. To use that really pernicious tool of whataboutery for the 1% to justify historic work being done for the remaining 99%. We should guard against that. Those wolves in sheep's clothing who will enter this movement and say, it's time to talk about men. Sara, Laura, please talk about us. But they're in fact doing it to further entrenched agendas which are now being threatened. And the only second thing I'll say, which Shombi, somewhere I thought he was going to get to it and he didn't, is a great sign that society is empowering its women is when the violence against women increases. When the brutality per assault increases. When it's not enough just to rape a woman, but you have to beat, break, brutalize, and burn her way after she's dead. Because it's not enough. I haven't won the victory enough. I have to make my mark felt because I am feeling increasingly threatened. Earlier, one molestation and she never showed her face in public. अब मजाल है कि वो वापस आई, खड़ी हो गई, सवाल पूछ रही है, सार्वजनिक तौर पे, ये कैसे हो सकता है? अब दूसरा सबक सिखाना पड़ेगा, etc., etc., etc. So it's a terrible thing to say, but as the brutality increases against women, senseless all of it, there is some glimmer of hope saying that that's because the fight is on. Earlier it was a walkover. Now I really have to engage in that fight. These are the 2 points I just wanted to make before getting to the question of cinema. Sara's question and my presence on this podium needs to be questioned. What is the importance of cinema in our national social consciousness? I think it's heavily overstated. And I'll make my case. I understand that it's influential and its influence perhaps has decreased over the years. Again, I'll make my case. But ask yourself this question. in the 1970s, I'm betraying, I don't care, I'm 57. In the 1970s, the great villains in cinema were gold smugglers. Gold was a thing. Smuggling was a thing. In the 80s, the great villains of the time, 80s, middle 80s to early 90s, was terrorism. After that, the great villains of the time became people, these mafia underlings, lords from the rural areas. The guys who, created their fiefdoms in the big badlands of India. Nowadays, the new villains, who are the ones where people will, are countries, nations. Did gold smuggling go up in the 70s because of the movies we saw? Did you become a gold smuggler? Did you ever consider it? Did you ever consider terrorism? Did you ever think that, right, this film has shown somebody throwing acid on a woman's face, perhaps I should try it? My point is this. There are many influences around a human being's life, never more so than now, as articulated by Rohini and by Laura and Sara. It's digital. Today, child sexual abuse, the biggest abuse is online, digital. So when you are receiving any stimulus that could shape your mind, ask yourself, where is it coming from? Is it only coming from cinema, or are we society's favorite whipping boy? Because it's visible. Otherwise, then Mr. and Mrs. Iyer should have changed the face of secularism in this country 25 years ago, if it's so influential. Just the fact is, if you want to spread a story about togetherness, community, secularism, you need to have at least that one film with that theme coming out every year. One swallow doesn't make a summer. In exactly the same way, you have to ask yourself that one particular film, violence against women, misogynistic, does it repeat itself year after year after year? Or does it not? In both cases, and I will give you the example of California trying to stop smoking in the late 80s and early 90s. There was a terrific uptick of smoking in California. Look it up, it's on the net. So the Californian government said, what do we do about this? And they decided we will attack the problem from all sides. First, we will increase the price of cigarettes by 25% and use that money for a multimedia campaign and a social outreach. They did that. The money they got, the people they hired, did the following. They went to schools and said that the project in the summer holidays is not going to be about how to grow crops in sub-Saharan Africa. The project will be how many human days were lost in your community because people were ill from smoking? In your community. How many people have complained of lung problems who smoke in your community? So the awareness started amongst kids that this is the new project we have to do. It's about smoking, and it's about in our block. In colleges, rap was just starting in America. So the rap festivals organized in colleges, in the counterculture groups, the topic was smoking and how it can screw up your lungs or whatever it is. The magician who came to school and did magic on days would take out black silk handkerchiefs from his mouth from a smoker and roses from a non-smoker. Television series that are still being made had a little vitamin pill injected into it, an episode here, an episode there, and you still see it, and the good ones you can't find it, about this, maybe about lung cancer. We had Humlog in the past, in the days, that was massively popular, that had a vitamin pill in every year, in every episode, dowry, death, etc. So television series began to talk about smoking. Billboards, bus shelters, and the backs of buses had this message. And finally, definitely, they tried to influence cinema to say, at least don't say don't smoke, but stop showing gratuitous cigarette smoking. And if it's not required, why would you do that? Last I read, the campaign was on for about 8 or 9 years, and after that, the incidence of smoking reduced by something like 20 or 21% after all of that. So if you have to attack a problem in our society, you have to do it 360 degrees. Wherever the kid looks, wherever the boy looks, wherever the girl looks, there has to be that message. It cannot just be one. I'm not defending the industry. I'm not that kind of guy. I frankly couldn't care about defense and attack. But the truth is, we have to be aware that today there are influences from all over. So let's definitely talk about what we have to talk about, but let's not make it the elephant in the room. There are many other elephants in this room.
So are you saying, Rahul, that we should take cinema and movies and art for art's sake, and that it doesn't need to have a role in gender equality or in changing these kind of conversations or stereotypes, that it's a movie?
Absolutely not. All that you started off by saying is true, but it's a question of degree. That's all. That's the only point I'm making. It does have an influence. We should talk about it. But should we make it seem as if once we solve this, we're done? You know, not that Sara is suggesting that, but I'm just saying life is always about degrees. At what degree does something become unbearable or unethical or immoral is something that, is something that holds true for anything we talk about. So let's talk about it, but let's be very clear that while we might be the favorite whipping boy, we are not the root cause of any of this. Having said that, you asked a question, Sara, about gender violence and has it become worse or better over time. I think, without a shadow of doubt, if you looked at the 1950s, where the whole wave of cinema was about freedom. Nayi Shuruaat, Usha. That's what the films were about. Let me till the soil, let me work the factory, let us get together, let us build the country. Cinema is a very faithful younger sister or brother of society. As soon as the elder brother does something, we latch on to a trend. That's it. We don't create trends. We latch on to the trend. कि अरे आजकल लोग सोशल मीडिया के बारे में बात करते हैं, एक यंगस्टर का फिल्म बनाते हैं जहाँ पे सोशल मीडिया से लड़की आत्महत्या कर लेती है. We catch the trend.
So that's the thing. It's chicken and egg? Which comes first?
100% society. 100%. There's no chicken or egg here. Society and then filmmaker. What are we? We are part of society. We are looking to see where is the hawa, what is catching, and then we pick it up. And sometimes you do it well, sometimes you don't do it well. You know, and so that is very, very clear. Society starts with society. Having said that, that doesn't mean you have to follow it. Just because, violence against women is something that you read about, there are movies today that, I was going to make my earlier point, from the 50s to now, I think the depiction of violence against women has been up and down, up and down. I mean, look, I don't mean to trivialize this, but in the same 70s where the gold smuggler was the villain, there was the hero's sister was always getting raped. And she was then, having to commit suicide. That was an inflection point. I understand as a plot point why it was done. But I think the depiction of violence against women has been rocky, patchy, up and down, but it hasn't gone up, neither has it gone down. It comes and goes as it deems fit. And if we look around our society today, we only have to ask ourselves, are we more violent today than we were 50 years ago? Individually in this room, is there more violence inside you that you have to fight to counter every day? Or was there more violence inside you that you had to fight to counter 40 years ago? I know for me the answer is the former. There's no question. There's so much of conflict and so much of violence around that just processing social media takes 15 minutes a day. Just processing it and saying, okay, thou shalt not react. Right? So I 100% feel that we are being assailed violently with violence for many, many more parts today than before. So, yeah.
I mean that, and you have played some of these violent characters.
Yeah.
Is that something, you know, when we look at Bulbul or we look at Dil Dharakne Do and
Irevan, this
yeah.
Tamil film I made.
I mean, a lot of them, is it hard to get into the skin of these very nasty male
It's
characters?
traumatic. It's traumatic. It's traumatic. It's ridiculously hellish. I remember doing Bulbul. Has anyone seen Bulbul here? Okay. So in Bulbul, the twin brother, you haven't seen it, Rohini, rapes his brother's wife to death. She dies. She's broken, beaten, and killed by the violence of his rape. He is mentally challenged. He's a 10-year-old in a 40-year-old's body. Very entitled, rich Zamindar's twin brother. So he just takes what he wants as a 10-year-old, and he's given what he wants. So I'm there, and listen, this is not for social media. Don't upset me. Don't do this. Okay, seriously. We are talking. Because everything you say in life, on X or Instagram, the context is not there. If I say the sky is black, there'll be outrage. But my context was what? It was night, the power had got cut, I looked up, the sky was black, then it's fine. So do not do this on social media today. I'm not interested, and I'm fearful it's taken out of context, not for me, but why we are here today. I'm lying in bed with Tripti Dimri, the actress, for 8 hours. Because we can't go in the middle of take to take. This is a deeply, deeply traumatic, triggering scene for her, right? Forget about whether you have been assaulted or molested or raped. Even for anybody else, it's a fear. It's a fear amongst young boys. So, to create that moment, she has to feel the raw, visceral fear. For me to create the moment, I have to be incredibly dangerous. I have to be incredibly brutal. I have to be credibly threatening. I have to be. She has to be terrified of me. So for 8 hours, we are switching this on and off. And for 8 hours, it is not just me shouting at you. It is me astride you, hammering my body into you. It is me hurting you physically, and all the while enjoying it. I told her only one thing. Your safe word is Rahul. Because as soon as the camera is on, I am going to rape you to death. That's my job. If that doesn't work, then the reverse, the film will not work. Then the cruelty that is born on Bulbul will not work. Then what the filmmaker who wants a deeply feminist film, what the filmmaker wants to say will not work. There is no point trying to tone this down for the dignity of Rahul Bose, the actor, if you're not serving the tale. And we were at it for 8 hours. And I was not, of course I was drained. I was shaken to the core. I was shaken to the core because when we were doing that scene, I would look into this girl's eyes and say, what pleasure could anyone draw from this? sheer terrorism you're inflicting on somebody else, what do you have to be to say, yeah, now I'm good? This whimpering, broken, half-dead person who I'm continuing to rape, now I'm good. What are the psychologies that begin to create a human being that can only derive pleasure from this? And Shombi said it, Rohini said it, it's threat. The threat. If you threaten me, if I get to feel insecure, if I'm in a position where my entire reason to exist is being questioned, then I'm going to fight. So then you have to ask yourself, is anyone telling men what their reason to exist is correctly? And this is where I wanted to make the point, Sara. I spoke about this 5 years ago in Delhi at Men Engage. Men who are the secondary victims of violence against women. Simple, I'll give you the simple explanation. Around every assault, molestation or rape or death of a woman through violence against her, there is a confused brother. There is an angry father. And there is even an ashamed grandfather. For the wrong reasons. But who is addressing that grandfather to say, look, we know you're feeling a sense of shame, but let's talk about this. Why is it shame that you're feeling? As opposed to anger at the perpetrator. And to the husband and say, why is it anger you're feeling towards? Who are you feeling angry towards? The situation that people keep coming and condoling with you, or saying that he should have protected? And what is the confusion the brother is feeling? Because some people in school are coming and hugging him, and some people at school are coming and avoiding him. Who is talking to these men? These are really complex emotions that they are going through. Because if you did it right, and the brother could be shown why he's confused and how to navigate that, and the husband could be shown what the anger, where his anger is coming from, and it's fine, but this is the way you can deal with it, not just through yoga and meditation. And the father or the grandfather can be say, you're feeling shame, but can we please talk about who the shame should be at? And don't you get 3 more warriors in the fight for gender justice forever after that? It's waiting. Because the more cases you have violence against women, the more cases you have got to reach out to these men. Has anyone reached out to these men in this room? In an organized institutional manner. Kudos to you. But shouldn't all of us be raising our hands? Because all of us have worked for women. But I started by saying this, while we are doing this, let not those men come in and say, hey, I'm also feeling ashamed and confused because nobody's listening to me and I can't beat women without impunity. We just have to be careful of that.
I mean,
Sorry, Sara.
That's true, and I think one always has to look at the danger. It's a little like, when people will talk about the Domestic Violence Act or something, but it can be used against, so I think we do have to kind of look, it's the matchbox can be used to light the candle or light the fire. So, I mean, it's a good point, well taken. But when you're talking about, the warriors, do you feel that are there any directors in Bollywood who are, that you feel when we talk about redefining masculinities or some of these very interesting where, they've wanted to make a point, or if we're talking about social change, or, is there anyone in particular that you feel has, that you've been very impressed by?
I'll first talk about the directors I've worked with because I know them best. First of all, I don't believe film direction is gendered. Where does the creative impulse come from? Zakir Hussain was somebody I looked up to and also was a dear friend. Where is his impulse? Was it a masculine impulse? Was it a feminine impulse? Did it have anything to do with gender? Or did it just have to do with light and beauty and ecstasy and ability. Zoya Akhtar, Dil Dhadakne Do. I mean, if you look at it, Shabana came the other day to me and said, I rewatched the film and you are uncompromisingly an asshole. She didn't use the word asshole. Shabana would never use that word. So I said, yeah, obviously. So she said, no, because most actors would kind of tone it down a bit. After all, yeah, reputation, I've worked on gender justice for 25 years. How can I play him so badly? She said, but you didn't. And I said, no, I didn't. Because Zoya's message will come, the more the black is, the more the white is. Kya fayda? If I'm light grey, then theek hai, arey, itna bhi kharab nahi tha jab banda theek tha. No. So Zoya definitely, it beats at the center of her heart. A basic humanism that you spoke about, it beats at the center of her heart. Aparna Sen, whether it's Mr. and Mrs. Iyer, whether it's 15 Park Avenue, whether it's The Japanese Wife, what a wonderful film, even though I was in it. Yeah, I know. I know it'll be taken the wrong way, but it is a really wonderful film. And I can watch it as an outsider. So definitely that kind of humanism, Sara. And I keep saying humanism because unless you have essential humanism, which is fueled by love. My foundation is called The Foundation. And the line we have is the foundation of everything that you do in life must be love. If it isn't, if it's anger, if it's injustice, it will be short-lived. But if it's love, there's no end to it. As long as you feel the love, go ahead and do it. Anyway, so out of the male directors, I thought working with Aniruddha Roy Chaudhary in Bengal on Ontuhin and Onuronon was wonderful. Amaran, this new film I've done with Rajkumar Periyasamy. Has anyone seen Amaran? Okay, we're in Delhi. No, but it's on Netflix and it's actually dubbed into Hindi. Yes, I'm seeing somebody doing that. Like, I'm here, I'm alive. There's one candle burning in the middle of the storm. Amaran is a film on war. It's about a Tamil hero who died in Kashmir in combat with terrorists. And it could so easily have been one of those jingoistic, male, kind of breast-beating films. It's not. And Amaran's beating heart is this soldier's love for his wife. And their relationship when they were in college doing a fashion show together, till the time he dies. The relationship between the two is so beautifully portrayed by Sai Pallavi and Sivakarthikeyan. I have a supporting role in it, so I can unabashedly say, please watch it. It's not for me, it's for the others. Bahut sundar film hai. And Rajkumar, I didn't put him down to be this kind of a guy. I mean, yes, nice, but depth, sensitivity, elegance, grace, a light touch. So he was one of the good guys I worked with. I've been very fortunate. I'm there. Buddhadev Das Gupta, rest his soul. What a creative. We had lots of disagreements, but never on the fact that, life is about the higher things. And that's what one must be always doing through art.
I'm going to ask, I think, one last question because then we will throw it open.
First of all, I'm sorry, this is not all the cinema questions you have down here.
No, listen,
I know.
The thing is, I actually have a lot of things that I want to ask, but I think it's going to be a little unfair if I keep asking you questions and nobody else gets a chance to. And I mean, actually, we just wanted to hear from you, Rahul. So it wasn't, I also didn't want to just go through 500 questions. We wanted to hear what you had to say about all these topics because I know you put a lot of thoughts, into this, and that was what it was about. But one of the things that, when one looks into Bollywood and one looks into cinema, and that's not just Bollywood, I think it's often there for Hollywood as well. There's a huge focus on the, the male superstar. And even now, when one looks at media, the actors, very well-established actors and the actresses are referred to as starlets, which I find, quite offensive actually. And the focus that you have to have that big male actor and he's going to bring in the audience and he's going to make in all the money. Is that still there, or do you feel that you can have movies that are carried just by, a big actress?
It's not an art. Let's start there. It's a business. Once you understand that, whoever puts bums on seats is the star. I was the starlet in Chameli. Kareena was the star. She gets more people into the theatre even today than I would. Simple. अब इसमें सोचने की क्या बात है? Amir said it very correctly in one of his interviews. You are paid according to how much revenue you will bring. I was paid a fraction of what Kareena was paid. It's nothing to even talk about. It's completely logical. Isn't it? Apart from the people who are the cinematographers and the set designers who have jobs. The rest of us, the people who actually govern who will come in, you better take the ratio. It's happened to me through my career. I'm never the guy who brings people into the theatre.
I think you're underselling.
No, I'm not trying to be falsely modest. Even in Bulbul, no, let's go and see Rahul Bose. Like, oh, it looks like a cool film. Let me watch it. I get that. So I have consistently been one of the lowest paid actors without a shadow of doubt in the films I've done, but it's completely logical. I've produced 2 films. I would not pay me more than I got. So I don't buy this at all. The film industry is super, super equitous in that way. You get the money, you get paid. You don't get the money, you get paid less. Everybody else, I've never seen more women working in any industry in this country ever in my life than in the film industry. To the point where I looked around one of the films I was making and I was like, where are the men? What happened? Because I had just hired. I hadn't looked. I just hired whoever was good. Get them in. And suddenly I saw there were literally about 16 out of 20 of the crew were women. So, I think, but getting to your question, you don't have to talk about it, but men have also been starlets, and I'm a shining example of that. I'm probably your nightmare of what a starlet should be, but there you go. You're stuck with me.
Okay, this is not this is off topic, but I just want to ask you, because you've acted, you've directed, you've produced, you've done everything. What's your favorite?
Direction.
Yeah.
Out of the question. Direction. Imagine some mad idea in your head resonating with people 4 years later. It's just the most amazing experience. It's amazing to direct. First of all, you have to be good at it, and I'm not shabby at it. I made a film called Purna about the youngest girl in history to climb Mount Everest. I bet nobody's seen Purna in this room. Oh, okay, I'm talking to the, okay, I'm preaching to the choir. I got it. But, just to actually see what you thought of one day and see it on cinema, direction is the most challenging thing to do in the world. You have to be part architect, part interior designer, part psychologist, part painter, part musician, part lyricist, part actor. It's asking you to do everything at that moment, in 5 minutes. Somebody's asking you about psychological motivation, and somebody's asking you ki chai mein aaj please shakkar kam dalna. Spot boy ko bolna. But it's amazing if you can do it. If you have all those things, which is why Ray was so great, because he was a polymath. He could do 19 things, and he did run the camera. He did the camera work. He composed the music. He was working with Ravi Shankar. He was composing. He was writing calligraphy. Ray Roman is a font. The guy was a dude, man. He was like, what's going on here? It's just amazing. So, I mean, so direction.
Should we open the floor? Would anyone like to ask some tricky questions? Can you introduce yourself briefly before asking the question? And also just one request, can we keep the questions brief, because sometimes the questions become longer than the answers, and we really would like to hear from Rahul, and we don't
You're
have
asking
too much
Indians to
time.
reverse their DNA.
Hi, I'm Shivangi and I'm from Population Foundation of India. And my question is, at what point do we draw a line between creative freedom and social accountability? While I do understand this is entertainment business and, it's for profits, and of course, we'll try to mimic social realities. Films will try to mimic social realities that exist. But don't you think there are consequences to putting out content like this that glorifies violence? I mean, there were reports of, people who went and
Yeah,
they
the
broke
question
things
and the
that-
answer, remember that?
Yes,
Yeah.
sorry. But yes.
I get your point. I get your
but
point.
that was
I
the
get your
question.
point. I get your point. Look, I used to say all content is valid. Either you buy the book or you don't buy the book. You watch the film or you don't watch the film. But that has changed now because things are appearing on our phone for free. We haven't asked for it and it's turning up. There is no yes or no. Would you like to, would you not like to? Now it's changing. Now, contrary to all my liberal views, I believe that if it's going to be there, unasked for on my phone, then there has to be some kind of device that allows me to say yes or no. It can't just pop up. I should have the choice. Just like I have the choice whether I want to go to PVR and watch a film or whether I want to go into Bari and Sons and buy the book. So, वो choice, but if it's appearing free, what is the stuff that is appearing completely free and unsolicited on my phone? We've got to think about that. Then we got to think about that. Because otherwise, that one last filter, which is human choice, has gone. So I'm wrestling with that right now. I much prefer people being given the freedom to make what. If you don't want to see those, misogynistic films, don't. If you don't want to read that book about jingoism and breast beating nationalism, don't. But if it's coming to your, No. It started just recently. I think it's just a rational conclusion that something that happens recently is because something recently has occurred. So it must be some other mic. Why would you blame all the other things that everything has been going on fine? Just have to be a little rational in life. Yeah. Have I seen Adolescence?
On Netflix, and it really, my question really takes from what you just said about things that are on your phone, and I just found this, it's just an eye-opening series, because it talks about what's happening to young boys in particular. It's exactly the subject of this seminar, which is what are young boys watching? What are they being exposed to in a world of Andrew Tate and toxic masculinity? And who's going to take responsibility for it? So I was wondering if you had seen Adolescence and if you had a take on it.
No.
Do watch it.
Okay, I am Swati Roy, and presently I am working with Udayan Care. Earlier I was with Lois Collective. At that time I had a point to meet you with Mrs. Indra Jaising. And today my question is about gender. How do you see gender equality from a cinema point of view and from your personal point of view?
Do you have 16 hours?
No, I have just 2 minutes that you can answer.
No, I can't. How do I see gender equality from the cinema point of view? We've been discussing that.
Right.
It's an up and down situation. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. Sometimes there are misogynistic films, sometimes there aren't. Sometimes there are films with an overt message for gender equity, sometimes there aren't. Cinema is a reflection of the larger, of what you see in society. And so I think in that respect, it will be very, very difficult for me to speak on behalf of all of cinema. I'm witnessing it just like you are. I do believe that gender justice in society is something I spoke about earlier. Perhaps you came in later when I talked about the fact that violence against women is, the brutality per case is increasing because the threat to masculinity, patriarchy, and traditional masculinity and definitions, patriarchy and misogyny, is the threats are increasing because of the rising voice of women, not all over the country, not all the time, but some of the time and some of the places.
That's your personal point of view.
No, it's a point of view. Obviously, it is my personal point of view. Whose other point of view would be?
Okay, thanks.
Hi, my name is Sonal.
Come on, men, you can ask a question also, it's allowed.
My name is Sonal, and I work with Center for Catalyzing Change. My question was that we were talking about, people making reflection also on the kind of views they hold about gender-based violence, because there are men and women making misogynistic movies. Then do you think these are their personal point of views as well? They go and defend.
You think somebody has put a gun to their head?
No, because say, for example, for actors, they play a role that's given to them. For example, you play a negative role. You might not believe in what the actor really thinks the character is talking about. But the directors themselves are making these movies, and then they go and defend these points of views.
Yeah, so do you think somebody's put a gun? Your question is, do they do it voluntarily, consciously, as sentient beings, or is it just something that happens?
Are they doing it for business, or do they really believe in it?
How do I know? I can't say. But they spend all their lives after that defending the film.
Yeah,
and
exactly. Yeah.
Personally, direction is one of the hardest jobs on earth. Physically and emotionally arduous jobs on earth. I can't think of anything tougher. So if you're going to do something which you scarcely believe in, then I find that hard to believe. I find that it's probably something that resonates with them. Because they have 20 scripts, and let's make this one. So I definitely think, as an actor, let me just say, I'm happy to play black as long as the message at the end of the film is white. There are 11 or 12 films in my career I've said no to, where I have to play somebody who's white, but the message is black. So you're defending your nation, and the message at the end of it is that that's bad, those people are bad. I'm like, don't get me to this. There are bad and good people everywhere.
Thank you.
Yeah, hi. My name is Meher. I'm a research consultant. I primarily work on public health. My question is, as political dispensations change, is there a shift with respect to creative freedoms when it comes to cinematic freedoms? Have you witnessed that kind of shifting freedoms?
100%.
Okay.
100%. Iran. Some of the finest cinema in the 80s and 90s came out of Iran. It was, the space to move, the creative space to move was this much. But the kind of cinema, I don't know, anyone's watched Makmalbaf or Majid. And it was just a tiny story about a boy who's lost his shoe. But within that, there was an ocean of discovery that you would make as a viewer, and many messages about freedom, about humanism, about tolerance, about compassion that you got from that one story. So I'm not saying that the lesser the space, the greater the film, but I'm just saying no matter what the political dispensation across the world, across societies, cinema and filmmakers, if they want to say something, will find a way to do that. It's very, very difficult to control the human mind. Oh, Laura is using her untrammeled power
Yeah.
to crush this all views here and come up with her.
Yeah. No, Rahul, what I found really interesting when you spoke about how you did the role in Dil Dhadakne De, where you actually used your discretion to some extent to define how black or gray the character is going to be. And I found that really fascinating, because even within, like, you know, there is a director and you are one character within that script, and within that you kind of use your agency to really define that character. So how much space does an actor at his individual level have to, you know, to do that?
Did I say I used my discretion?
I mean, I'm just saying, because you were saying that, you know, the character, when you met Shabana and she spoke about the character, and you said that it had to be black and no space for gray. I thought that was very interesting. How to define the character?
To be honest, we are only doing what the director wants us to do. But within what the director wants us to do, I can be a little less, can't I? Slightly charming, smile a bit, just, you know, suck in my cheeks and let you see my cheekbones. I meant the cheeks on my face. That's a question of integrity. As a person, as an artist, you have to have that. And I've, by the way, worked with some very, very fine actors who have shown me zero integrity once the camera has rolled.
Give us the names. It's between you and me, between you and me.
Basically, this entire session has been boiled down to 4 words. Give us the names. And then get out. Masculinity, femininity, gender, bhaad mein jaye. Ye 4 bata ke phir aap jao. Yeah, and I've been shocked. The insecurity, competitiveness, stupid, puerile, juvenile game playing. I've turned to director and said, is this really happening? Because I've played rugby for India for 11 years. You think I get intimidated by this kind of behavior? You mad? You know? So, yeah. So we follow the director's lead, Laura. Of course we do. Yeah. Okay, this is now becoming, this is it. This is the velvet couches in the front row.
I don't know, the men are not raising their hands. But speaking of men, sports and music, and you do obviously rugby, how is that? Is that therapeutic? Is that a pathway for more self-awareness, more control? What is your thought?
Rohini, I mean, I didn't think anyone would ask me this question today, but of course, we can spend an hour on this, but I'm the president of the Rugby Federation of India, and out of our 130,000 players, exactly half are women. And our women are doing better than our men on the global platform. Our women are 10th in Asia, our men are 15th in Asia, and we are doing better than any other team sport in the country, barring a couple hockey and a couple of, one or two more. After hockey, in the last 75 years, we will be the next team sport in the Olympics from India. Wow. By 32 or 36. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. I'm not counting cricket because cricket is going to come in as 6 nations are playing the Olympics. I'm not denigrating it. It's just that the way it's being done. And rugby is played by the poorest of the poor. Nobody in any city in this country plays rugby. And yet, out of 760 districts in this country, rugby is played in 322 districts. 40% of India plays rugby. And it's all in the rural areas, all of it. Even in the urban areas where my national team has Rajasthanis playing, they're from Jaipur, but the slums of Jaipur. They're from West Bengal, but the slums of Kolkata. Nobody remotely looking like me plays the game anymore. So, we don't do a caste census, but I'm thinking SC, ST to 70-80% to honge hi honge. Why should we do a caste census? It's not our business. In that, for a girl to start running, even in a salwar kameez, then to switch to a tracksuit, then to switch to shorts, then to play a game where she's getting physically touched, then to play a game where she's getting physically manhandled, woman-handled, then to play a game where she's breaking her nose or breaking her leg, is 7 degrees of madness for a man to think about with the patriarchal. So I have Not one. I have 100 stories to tell you of the auto rickshaw driver in Maharashtra whose daughter plays for India, and he just told his wife, when she even began to exercise, to stop it. No, she's just going to do some running. Let her, it's good. Take out the energy. Home. And then he had no clue that she was running. She discovered rugby. She was playing rugby. She had no clue. When he got to know, he locked her up. And then one fine day she came back with 1,15,000 rupees from our camp and having won the silver at the Asians. And then he put a garland on his auto rickshaw, met his other 10 auto rickshaw drivers, and paraded her around the village. Because she'd brought 1,15,000 rupees home. I mean, it's a dark story. It's a dark story. But these are the ways in which I am looking at women. I have it firsthand. I have photographs. I traveled 242 kilometers from Bhubaneswar to Dhatika in Kyonjhor. Says time out. I'll finish this. In Kyonjhor, in Dhatika, to meet the mother of the Indian women's captain, who's a tribal. Hopi is tribal. She's from Kyonjhor, Dhatika. Took me 6 hours to get there. The last kilometer I walked. There's a photograph of me walking. And you should see the photograph of me when I met that woman. I got off the Innova. I walked. She saw me coming into the village. And the first thing she did when she saw me was hug me. With massive, proud smile. Nothing, no thank you and tears, nothing. Just a big, fat hug. And I just clasped her and we just hung out for 2-3 minutes. And when I left, she cupped her hands on my cheek and I cupped my hands on her face. To say that, yeah, I love you. And thank you. Without you, Hopi would never be our captain and we would never win a silver medal. So I put my forehead at your feet. It's happening. It's a massive country, what to do here? But it's happening.
Well, thank you so much, Rahul. You did not give us any Bollywood gossip. You did not give us any names, but you gave us so much more than that. Thank you for a wonderful session, for an enlightening session. And thank you for your time.